Hello, sweet baby angels and pumpkin heads. It's your girl, Miss Tetra Resin Stone. And I have come across these two articles that are eerily very, very similar. Now, of course, they're provided by Newser. I will leave that in the description, but let's go ahead and dive on into the first article. Police say a man found a decomposed body in his dead mother's freezer as he was clearing out her Manhattan apartment, the AP reports. He found the body this week in a chest freezer that had been sealed with duct tape. Now that's a little, okay, there's a duct tape sealed freezer. Investigators say the body appeared to have been stored for more than 10 years. Building Superintendent Azmir Basim told the newspaper Friday. Basim says the woman's son showed up Thursday morning to pick up a couple things from the apartment, and when he opened the freezer, he started screaming. People were called to the scene shortly after. The body, which Basim said appeared to be of a woman, was nevertheless too decayed that authorities couldn't determine its sex. Basim said building staff say authorities are investigating whether the body may be that of the deceased woman's mother. An autopsy is planned. The city officials said in a written statement the deceased tenant never gave permission to work be done in the Hamilton Heights apartment. Basim said, adding that she seemed like a lovely lady and was always very pleasant. So there are a lot of comments that are below. Well, there's 54 comments that are below this particular article, and I'm gonna definitely flash a few up on the screen. And I gotta say, I can see where people are thinking, it's they wanted. Grandma died, natural causes, and mom just wanted to get those checks. Now, from New York to North Carolina, cops woman lived with mom's body out of curiosity. Donna Sue Hudgens' neighbor thought Hudgens possibly had a sewer problem, reports the News and Observer. The source of the odor ended up being much more jarring. Police alleged that if Enfield, North Carolina woman kept her mother's dead body in their home for months because she was curious and wanted to see how the stages of death. That from a Facebook post from the Enfield Police Chief Tyree Davis, who says the case began when Hudgens went to a funeral home to make arrangements for her 93-year-old mother, who she said died that morning. The only problem, Hudgens, 69, reportedly said that she didn't know where EMS had taken Neely Mae Hudgens' body. The funeral home was unable to track down the mother and contacted police after speaking with the daughter. Officials entered the residence to do a welfare check and discovered a badly decomposed body in the home. Oh my goodness, writes Davis. Hudgens was on Tuesday charged with felony concealment of a death and has a November 7th court date. The News and Observer reported that the elder Hudgens was buried 2 weeks ago. Now, okay, listen. Either I want to know if Donna Sue maybe has some mental problems. I mean, she has been living with her mother, Now, I don't know if it was for her benefit, mom's benefit, both, you know what I mean? So I really want to know. Now, a lot of the comments, as you see with this, again, is very similar to the first article where they're like, oh, it's all about that Social Security, honey. It's about that check. It's about that check. Get that government check. And, that may be a factor, but her excuse, I don't know if maybe she thinks that that's a better excuse. I'm just curious to see what her body will do. I don't know. I really don't know. Now, I know I said I had 2 articles to go over with you, so I have a surprise 3rd article that's following kind of true to the theme as far as decomposing bodies at home. But take a listen to this next article. From the United States to the UK we go. Now, this is a little bit different. It's not like creepy. This is actually a sweet kind of goodbye. Now, a British man slept beside his dead wife's body as a way for him to get closure. It may sound like a case of not being able to let go, but a British man who lost his wife to a 10-year battle with cervical cancer last month says that staying by her body for 6 days actually helped him say goodbye. And it was, quote, beautiful and comforting experience. In the post that has gone viral on Facebook, Russell Davison said his absolutely wonderful, truly remarkable, much loved, respected, fearless, brave wife, best friend, soulmate Wendy passed away in the early hours of April 21st in his and her son Dalen's arms. A self-described spiritual person who believes in reincarnation, Davison says he ceremonially washed her body and put her in a lovely flower summery dress and placed her into a cotton-lined wicker cocoon. Then he cried for several hours, got in bed beside her, and read to her. Davison spent 6 days with her body in their Derby home, and he tells The Independent he'd recommend the experience to absolutely everybody. He says there was nothing upsetting about being in a room with a dead body, describing vividly how his wife's body began to gradually decompose. There was no bad smell, no fluids, the 50-year-old says. Her face sank a bit. We were in tune with it, watching what nature does when it is left to its own devices. And it was comforting, and he explains Wendy had died, but we still got her. It felt like an emotional decompression chamber to start the grieving process. On April 27th, her family drove her to the crematorium. The BBC reports that it is legal under UK law to keep a body at home until the funeral, as long as the death is registered, which here hers was. I gotta say, that third article was something that I was not expecting. I did find it in the related articles, and I wanted to definitely still include it because I thought it was so interesting how people's points of views and people's ways that we process things and process grief are completely different from others, right? And I think it was really interesting that this person was able to A, follow the law, which good for you for following, your country's laws, and B, also do it in such a dignified way and respectful way. I think that's the biggest difference that I have for him versus the other two. Let's say even the other two, they did die of natural causes and they just wanted to keep the checks, whatever the case may be, why they chose to what they do. Especially the North Carolina one, who said she wants to see how the body decomposes. There was such a disregard and disrespect to that body. And you look at this article and there's a huge difference in the way that they treated their loved one after death. And I think that's huge. And I think that is telling. So I really wanted to include that because it was a perspective I didn't think about. I was trying to be sympathetic with the other two, like maybe it's a loved one and they don't want to let go, especially the North Carolina one. But then after seeing what someone who really, I'm not saying that they don't love their loved ones, but this case is night and day on how they treated their body, the body of the loved one after their death. It was so much more respectful and so much more, there was tender care for them and, an ability to process and start that grieving process in a very, I think, loving way. And so I wanted to include that as a example of different points of views. And, I definitely wanted to hear your thoughts and your opinions. You guys, I love when you leave me comments, even when you don't agree with me and you want to call me Karen, because I'm always, talking about things that I find to be inappropriate, though I think they're important. I always appreciate the conversation. And, I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Until next time, bye-bye.